Do I really need to teach nouns? They're people, places, things, and abstract notions. So, Shaquille O'Neal, Dr. Barista, places, Hard Rock Casino, London, things, machines, squirrel, Dr. Pepper, abstract notions, excitement, evil, friendship, love, things like that. And we can use slot tests. So, one way of identifying nouns is to try to put a word after the word the, or or these. And if you see something after this, it's usually a noun. So the people, a person, these machines. You might even say something like, let's say you're talking about a group of people. You might be talking about the young. Like, the young are so out of touch. Maybe that's what we're saying because we're an old person and we just don't like young people. In this case, young here would be a noun because it is the subject of the sentence, and we need a noun in that subject. So the is going to introduce it. So that's a good way of identifying a noun. There's two subclasses we need to worry about in order to talk about like structure and labeling, and these are proper nouns versus common nouns. So proper nouns we'll label as prop n. These are specific people or places, so these have capital letters, while common nouns are just not specific things, these are generic things. So these just don't have capital letters. We're just going to label those as regular nouns. So telephones, characters, cats, restaurants, anything like that. Don't think of the word common as meaning like as meaning like not rare. Think of common just meaning like not specific. So those are the basics of nouns. We'll talk about noun phrases next. Now, noun phrases are going to be built around noun heads. So any sort of noun or proper noun. So let's say we have a word like dogs. This is going to be a noun. It must build up into a noun phrase. John is a proper noun. It must build up into a noun phrase. Anytime you see a noun or proper noun, it must build up into a noun phrase. Sometimes we have proper nouns that are multiple words, like King James or a full name or Tim Hortons. And in that case, we just give it a little subscript and say there's two parts there and there's no real internal structure. So there's not really a way to break apart King and James. So what can we do with in noun phrases? Well, this is why we learned adjective phrases first, because we can put adjective phrases in noun phrases in order to modify them. So if our original noun phrase was dogs, and we want to say cute dogs, what we can do is we can make the adjective phrase a sister to the noun. So what this means is that this is going to be describing the noun. So we can see we have our full adjective phrase tree within our noun phrase tree. So cute dogs. Or in the case of very annoying cats, very annoying is describing the cats. So the cats is going to be the noun, the head noun of our noun phrase. The adjective phrase goes under the noun phrase and beside the noun because the adjective phrase is describing that noun. And then within the adjective phrase, we know there's structure. We know annoying is the adjective, and we know the qualifier very is going to be describing annoying. So this is how we can visualize some pretty basic noun phrases. But we can also put noun phrases inside of noun phrases to make compound words. And this might be a little bit confusing because when we take a look at math teacher and passionate teacher, it looks pretty similar. In the case of math teacher, math is describing the type of teacher. It's a teacher that teaches math. In a passionate teacher, it's describing a quality. It is a teacher who is passionate. The structure looks the same, but the category is different. Now, how do we know? Well, this has to do with how the structure of nouns and noun phrases work. So within a noun phrase, we can have any number of adjective. So I put this in brackets to mean it's optional. I put a star above it to mean any number of nouns. And then we'd have to have our noun. So our string of nouns or our compound noun, whatever we have. So if we want to see if math is an adjective, we should be able to put an adjective before it or after it, and it should be fine. So we can say new math teacher, so we can put an adjective before, but we can't say math new teacher. That's not okay. So this tells us that since new is an adjective and noun is a teacher, if math were going to be okay as an adjective, then this order should be fine. but this order is not okay. Therefore, we know math is actually a noun. Compared to new passionate teacher versus passionate new teacher, clearly passionate and new are both going to be both going to be adjectives. They can be reordered in whatever way they want. We can do the same thing with police officer and trained officer. New police officer, new trained officer, but a police new officer, ugh, sounds bad. A trained new officer, that sounds fine. So police is a noun that builds into a noun phrase that is going to be modifying officer, while trained is an adjective that builds into an adjective phrase that would be modifying officer there. So I recommend using that bit of information in order to figure out if the modifier you're looking at is a noun phrase or an adjective phrase. Noun phrases can also contain numerals, and there's two different types of numerals that we should be talking about. Are cardinal numerals, so these are the counting numbers 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and the ordinal numerals, which are sequential numbers, so like counting in a sequence like first, second, third, fourth, fifth, sixth, and so on. So we have cardinum and ordinum for the labels, and we'll notice that these are occurring before the noun that they're describing. So words like one or two can be pronouns or nouns as well, depending on the position, but they're cardinal numerals when they are describing a noun that's coming after them. So only one student did not graduate. These two weirdos were being so loud. Or I will be the second person. We see the noun after second. Or her first day was more stressful than she anticipated. And we can see structures for these on the right side. So you can have multiple of these back to back. So we could have something like, I don't know, maybe we're talking about some sort of competition. There's a competitor, and the first two attempts that they're talking about. So in this case, we have an ordinum, we have a cardinum, and then we have the actual noun itself. So those are two different types of numerals we see. I should mention, let's say if we have the one person, so yeah, let's do this in the top right. The one person versus the one. So in this case, the one person is describing, so one is describing person. So this is going to be the case of a counting number, but in this case of the one, this is just a noun. So this is coming after that determiner the, which has to introduce a noun phrase. So again, it's going to depend what it's doing. The other thing that we should talk about are quantifiers. So these are other counting types of words, but they just give a general sense. So they're not as specific. So every something, all something, some things, nothing. So no person, no people. That's 0 people. Many people, few people, things like that. So we just label these as quants, and they come within the noun phrase. So every person is a quantifier that is describing with a number how many people we have, or each helicopter. This is a quantity. This is going through each of the helicopters in some set. So every person that I know is leaving around 5 p.m. Every is describing person. I can think of few people brave enough to wander these lands. Few is describing people. So let's see if we can identify some noun phrases here. You can pause the video yourself and then, well, let's go through the answers here. So we'll find some NPs and we'll draw some structures. So first I'm just going to underline some NPs. So Steve is going to be a proper noun. So I'm just going to do the little structure right here. Many poor souls. Many poor souls. Okay, so what I see here is I see a noun phrase of many poor souls. I have an adjective that is going to be, well, let's just do this down here. So we're going to do many poor souls. And let's see what we have here. So we have an adjective poor that is being built up into an adjective phrase. We have souls, which is going to be a noun that's going to head that noun phrase. And then many is going to be a quantifier that's telling you roughly how many of the souls out there. So many poor souls is a noun phrase, and that would be its structure. So we'll keep this on the page, but we'll keep this kind of small. Since Mr. Garfunkel was 5. So Mr. Garfunkel is going to be another noun phrase. This time we have 2 words here. This is going to be a prop N for 2. This will also build into a noun phrase. And then 5, what is this? This is not a cardinal numeral. This here is a noun in this case. We need a noun phrase. It's describing the actual number. It's not describing how many of something that there are. Okay, what about the next one? Very dangerous asbestos covered unsuspecting ceilings at university. So we have very dangerous asbestos. That is a noun phrase. Unsuspecting ceilings is a noun phrase. And university is a noun phrase. So university is the easiest. It's just a noun that builds up into the noun phrase. For very dangerous asbestos, what we're going to get is dangerous, which is an adjective modified by the qualifier very. So these will build up into an adjective phrase, and then that is going to connect to the noun to build the noun phrase. We're going to get very dangerous asbestos. And that's not really going to fit, so I can put that there. For unsuspecting ceilings, unsuspecting is going to be an adjective that builds up into an adjective phrase. Ceilings is going to be the noun head, and that will build up into the noun phrase. So those are all the noun phrases that we have so far. Hopefully this exercise wasn't too bad.